Hello friends, today we will be starting on an introduction to office procedure and supervisory skills subject. Now this subject is going to be a part of your curriculum, and in this session we would be basically understanding various concepts which are covered in this subject line. These concepts majorly would talk about an office as an individual, the record management concepts, documentation and report writing, supervisory skills and communication, and leadership and motivation. Now, this subject is going to be a very important subject for you all in terms of understanding exactly what your office is, what are the requirements, what are the various documentations required, different types of organizations today. We would also be having a different concept, we would also be understanding the concepts of supervision, supervisory skills, a supervisor. We would be talking about about what is reports writing, how do you write, what are the things to be avoided. So overall, if I have to say, this subject is going to groom you in a very theoretical way as to how an office culture and an environment has to be or is in today's generation, and how do you adopt yourself and adapt yourself to this current situations. Now, the first unit of this subject would talk about office altogether. Now, in this unit, we would initially be understanding what a business enterprise is. Now, a business enterprise is basically an enterprise or is basically a concept. Now, every entrepreneur has an idea. He wants to start off a business. So when an entrepreneur starts working on his idea and as a registration done and as per the legal procedure goes ahead, it is known as a business enterprise. Then what is an office? The office and business enterprises are different. Business enterprise is an idea which an entrepreneur or an individual is going to sit upon and is going to make sure grows big. An office is basically a location. Also, you can say an office is basically a place where the business is going to get run. So it's basically a location. It can be a room, it can be a desk, it can be just a table. So from where the operations of the business is going to take care, that is an office. Now, the office staffs are the people who are working in that organization, in that office for the similar idea or the similar organization or the concept. So it comprises of different levels that we've understood in principles of management. So they are middle levels, higher levels, lower levels. So office staff comprises of all the people from the bellboy to maybe the CEO or the board of directors. All those people working in the organization in the same regional or in the offices located at different places across the globe are known as office staffs. The next important thing is what are the common forms of business organizations which we will be understanding in this. Now the common forms, there are a very different number of forms of business organizations. We would be only having an overview of different ones, like there is a sole proprietorship which is run by a single person. There are partnerships which are run by two or more people in the same organization. They come together and form a partnership firm. There is limited liabilities, LLC, so limited liability corporation. There is private limited company, a public limited company. There are NGOs, trusts, organizations, and even cooperative firms. So there are different forms of business organizations. Each form is unique, is different, has to follow different legal procedures, and also each form is important for different set of businesses. So depending on what kind of business you have and what kind of investment you're making at the initial front, different forms of businesses can be adopted by you. Now, the advantages of working or the advantage of office work is what we'll be understanding, basically why office work is important. Obviously, it gets you systematic, it gives you an exposure, things fall in place, you work together, it saves time, everybody's sitting under the same roof, so the brainstorming happens. So there are different advantages which take place. Now because of the office, obviously, and because there are a lot of people working in an organization or inside an office, there are different career opportunities each office offers, and these career opportunities have different job requirements or skill requirements. Now the career opportunities majorly are from the bellboy, you have a receptionist, you have a telecaller, a cashier, you also have a back-end team, you have a managerial level. So there are different, so overall you will be studying 8 categories of job careers which your office offers as an office staff, and each category that you will be studying has different skill requirements and also different job descriptions, and that is the reason you have various opportunities for your employment basis coming up in different organizations, from a startup to an established MNC, is because each one of them have different roles offered to people with different job criteria, with different educational criteria, and also skill requirements. And based on all of this, we will obviously be studying the major duties and responsibilities which each office staff has to follow as a protocol when they're working inside that office environment. So this is all that I'm going to talk about in Unit 1. Now in Unit 2, we'll be talking about record management. Now record management, the first one is to understand what is record management. So the objective is basically very simple, that how do you compile things, okay, in a nice way so that it can be easily derived whenever required. So record management basically helps you in understanding. Record management basically helps you in understanding as to why it is important, why record keeping is important, to understand what is happening in an organization, what needs to be removed after a point of time, what needs to be maintained for future documentations, what needs to be adopted, what was not being done in the previous years. So there are different ways of filing, documentation filing systems. So you have to make sure the documentation filing happens. It is a centralized filing system and a decentralized filing system, to be majorly divided into. Centralized obviously is maintained in a single system, in a single software. So everybody across the globe, across the entire nation, wherever the offices are operating from, all the data is managed by that single software, which normally banks follow. So irrespective whichever branch you go, you get your details, you understand, you know your bank balances easily. Whereas decentralized filing system is a little different. It is maintained by an individual in every team. So every team has a different record management done, and later on only the important parts are being summed up during the audit and the filing procedures. Now, so there are various steps in how a filing has to be done. Like, we need to understand what we need to file, where we should file. We need to create a space for it, either into a software or physical space. We need to understand on what basis the filing has to be done, who has to be responsible in his or her absence, who can take over that part of the filing. All these things are various steps in filing. The most important part in a filing or record management is indexing. Indexing means creating an index. Just like our books, our textbooks, our reference books have an index. So we easily know we want to study Unit 2. So we straight move on to that page number. Similarly, indexing is very important. Indexing in record management helps us in understanding where a particular data will be available, which rack that file would be available, or in which software or which part of your documentation on an app, on your laptop, will that data be available. So indexing is very important because it helps us in understanding whether the data is available or no, and if yes, where is it available. Now there are again, obviously you have to select the most appropriate filing system depending on what kind of an organization you are. If it's a startup or decentralized one is okay, but if you're a very established firm or you're an MNC, you normally prefer having a centralized filing system. And the most important is, how do you handle your incoming and outgoing mails. Now over here, mails are not just your emails that you would be receiving, but also the physical mails that you receive. So you need to have a post bag, or you need to have a post box, so that if anything, they can draw, the physical mails can drop in there. So whenever you want to address, or when you want to write to an organization, they normally give you a PO box number. Now this PO box number is a general number, is a number allocated to that organization in a post office, so that all the mails can go there. An authorized person opens that box and collects the mails on a regular intervals. So how do you manage those incoming mails and how do you respond to those mails also is very important to understand in a record management way. The third unit, now moving on from record management, the third unit basically talks about documents and report writing. Now, documents and report writing is very important because reports are the ones which tell us what are we doing, what was the conclusion to what have been asked for us, and gives us a systematic way of answering a query or answering a problem. Now, when you are writing a document, there are a few things you need to understand, like the language that you use, the jargons that you use, whom are you addressing it to, who's the recipient, whom are you going to give, who's the one who's writing, the acknowledgement part, the indexing part. All these things have to be taken care when you're writing a document. You have to obviously answer your 5 H's and 5 W's and 1 H. When you obviously have a workplace documentation written, the 5 W's are who, when, where, why, and what, and 1 H is how. So now, when you're writing a report or a document, you have to answer these 5 W's and this 1 H. So, who is writing the report? Okay, where was this problem undertaken, or where is being anticipated? Why this problem came up, why was it not noticed earlier? So all the whys to this. Okay, so it is who, why, where, when did this happen, or when was it reported, when was it not reported. Okay, then obviously H is how did you notice it, how are the steps taken now. So all these W's, 5 W's and 1 H, have to be addressed every time you write a workplace document. Now, few important things to remember that when you're writing a report or a document is, you cannot use any kind of a informal language. Your English has to be clear, grammatical check needs to be done, spell check needs to be done. These are some basic things, your recipient has to be mentioned, acknowledgement needs to be really done well, indexing has to be done correctly. When you're writing a report, your conclusions, your recommendations have to be written. Methodology practice has to be mentioned. You need to make sure you write about the sources of various data, the graphs, the tables, need to have an appendix given from where are they getting it from and where are you getting it from. Your bibliography has to be given. So all these are few things that you have to maintain, or you have to make sure you mention every time you write a report or a document in a workplace. Apart from that, you will be obviously understanding what are the different types of meetings which take place in an organization. Majorly, there are different set of meetings. It can be a meeting which is a very casual meeting. It can be an informative meeting. It can be a meeting which is an authoritative meeting where you're just telling the people what is to be done. A casual meeting is where a general interaction takes place. An informative meeting is when you're just passing in information. So an annual general meeting, in short, is an informative meeting. So different types of meetings, how are they taken, how do they take place, what things need to be taken care when you are having a meeting, what are the pre-meeting things that you need to maintain, what are the post-meeting things you need to maintain, during the meeting how the procedure or the flow has to go through, the advantages, the disadvantages, all of this will be understood in your Unit 3 majorly. When I talk about Unit 4, now we obviously will be talking about supervisory skills and communication skills. Now supervisory skills and communication skills are very, very important from the managerial point of view and also from an employee point of view. Now in this unit, we basically will be understanding what are the skills required by a supervisor. Basically different skills like communication, negotiation, your documentation skills. You need to have a control over the department you're working into. You need to have complete knowledge about the department, different jargons used in your departments, etc. And if you're missing out on something, how do you acquire those skills? Like how do you become a good motivator, your leadership skills, your communication skills. If you're poor, how do you become a better one as a supervisor? You will be understanding this in the initial part. We would also be understanding about what are the functions of a supervisor, not just looking at into the roles, but also if a supervisor is important to understand the motivational part, to motivate the employees, to motivate the team, to communicate the right way, to take ownership of whatever is happening in an organization or in a team. All these things are the functions which in details we would be understanding in Unit 4 altogether. In Unit 4, we again will be having a little more emphasis on the meetings that we've spoken about, different types of meetings, the advantages and disadvantages of the meetings, what are the different venues what are the things you need to fix before you have a meeting hold, what are the procedures in order to declare that you are having a meeting, how a board meeting is finalized, what do you need to do when a board meeting is taking place, what is a pre-thing that you need to do, post-board meeting, what is to be done. All of this will be spoken in detail. Very important part in this unit is the communication part. So we will be understanding what are the different process of communication, the skills of communication, the tools of communication, and the barriers in communication. Now, the process of communication, we all have been studying this from the very initial times. The process is very simple. The receiver encodes the message, sends the message via a media channel goes to the sender encodes the message. He passes on the message via a media channel to the receiver, where the receiver receives the message, decodes the message, and gives a feedback to the sender as to what is the revert on that message. So if I am the sender and if I'm talking to you, I am giving you, I'm sending you a message via my verbals, via my words. You receive the message because of this screen or because of this live telecast. You as a receiver will obviously receive the message, understand what I'm saying with the language that I'm using on those bases, and you will give me a feedback by either giving a reward, saying that in your question form, or maybe in the way like you've understood with a nod, with not a nod, in different ways. So that's a general process in which the communication takes place. Communication skills are very important as to how do you communicate. What kind of different ways of communication. The different ways of communication means a formal way of communication, an informal way of communication. Formal ways have different ways of communicating, vertical, horizontal. Informal ways, a grapevine communication. So you will be understanding that also in details. We'll be understanding the different tools of communication, which means how in today's world communication takes place, like using web conferencing, video conferencing. You have WhatsApp messages, you have emails, you have a telephone, you also have fax. You have different ways of communicating today. So we'll be talking about each tool in details. The barriers of communication, which means what are the hindrances people have while communicating in any form with anybody across the globe, or regionally also. So we'll be understanding, like, there can be cultural barriers, language barriers, there can be technological barriers. So different barriers will be understood in detail, and how do you avoid each of these barriers, to be more precise. Finally, the last part talks about leadership and motivation. Now, this is a very vague and a broader perspective in an organization, because not every leader can be a good motivator, and not every good motivator is a leader. So, a leadership and motivation concepts will be understood. What are the qualities a leader should have will also be spoken about. We will obviously be understanding the similarities, the differences between a leader and a motivator, leadership skills and motivational skills. We will be talking in detail about the ethics a leader has to follow in an organization, and find different styles of leadership present, and how you can adopt one based on your own personality. So like there are autocratic leaders, there are democratic leaders, situational leaders, laissez-faire leaders. So there are different forms of leadership styles. Each form is different from the other, or based on the personality one has. Autocratic is like a Hitler rule. Democratic means we'll listen to everyone, we'll take everyone together. Situational is they change as per situations. If a situation demands strictness, he becomes an autocratic leader. If a situation demands easiness role where everybody has to be taken together. It's a democratic way. So situation wise the leadership style changes. So we'll be understanding majorly different styles of leadership and how we can adopt one based on our personality, and how we can easily change from one to another based on different situations in and around us. So majorly in this unit, it's going to be a very vague unit. It's going to be a very broad unit with a lot of things kept to people to answer. Will leave a very open-ended part for students to think about and to change the way they are at an individual front. So this unit is not just going to give you theoretical knowledge, but also will help you to groom as an individual, depending on what kind of personality you have, what kind of an individual you are, and obviously what kind of an individual an organization is going to look for in you when they expect you to join them. So in short, this entire subject is divided into 5 units. One, where we'll be understanding about the office. Second, we'll be talking about the record management part as to how you maintain office documentations. Third, we would be talking about how do you write documents or report writing in a workplace. Fourth, we would obviously be talking about supervisory skills and communication skills. And lastly, we would be talking about or giving you all a detail about leadership and motivation in an organizational workplace as to how it differs, how you can become one, and what are the qualities or ethical traits one looks out for in a leader or a motivator in an organization.